Hello and welcome to the Election Corner on One Man Think Tank. Today we're going to be going over the scenario in which Donald Trump is unable to run for re-election. Now, given the coronavirus epidemic, you can guess the scenario here. The president gets coronavirus, much like how the current Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, got coronavirus, by claiming it's a hoax, going out in public, and, getting the virus. However, given Donald Trump's health state, it is highly likely if he were to get the virus, there is a good chance he would pass away. I'm not saying that as a positive, I'm saying that as a fact of the matter. In this case, Vice President Mike Pence would most likely receive the Republican nomination, as he would most likely, as it currently stands, be Donald Trump's running mate, while Joe Biden would receive the Democratic nomination. So, getting started, I need to put a little clarifier out. The scenario surrounding this election, I believe, would cause it to become one of the lowest turnout elections in American history. Joe Biden and Mike Pence have an almost identical weakness. They don't excite the more radical portions of their own bases. Mike Pence is the classic clean-cut, white, conservative, Christian, evangelical type, which polls great with your mid-range Republican voter. Not with suburbanites, not with your Trumpistas. Joe Biden doesn't poll well with progressives, and while he pulls out suburban voters in droves, he doesn't encourage minority voters, another key base of the Democratic Party, so I think this would be one of the lowest turnout elections in American history. Also, given the fact that this race up to this point has very much been a are you voting for or against Donald Trump? Without him being on the ticket, I imagine this would turn into well, you can't really vote for Trump, and if he's not there anymore, you can't really vote against him. There will be plenty of people who turn out to vote, but they wouldn't necessarily be turning out to vote for something other than their own party. So, as we head into this, let's start off with the safe seats for Joe Biden. He's going to, very fortunately for the Democrats, have a complete flush of safe seats made up of the two seaboards, the East Coast and the West Coast. Sorry, not New Hampshire, and we'll get back to that in a moment. However, Maine's Old District and Maine's First District would be safe, as would Illinois and Hawaii. This gives Joe Biden a total of 209 electoral votes. A good place to start off, and a solid area, as he would only need to gain 61 additional electoral college votes. Mike Pence, on the other hand, is holding strong onto the Midwest, his home state of the Great Plains, as well as some of the Midwest. I would say everything but Nebraska's 2nd District in Nebraska, as well as Oklahoma and even Kansas. Kansas, voting blue, has seemingly been exclusively against Chris Kobach, not necessarily a complete shift at the statewide level for the Democrats. He'd also hold on to quite a bit of the Deep South. Georgia is going to be a little bit more interesting, as will North Carolina, but this is the starting off point for Mike Pence. He also keeps Alaska and Utah. So Mike Pence gets to start with 225 electoral votes, Joe Biden 209. It initially starts off in favor with Joe Biden, however, Mike Pence has much more room to expand. To prove this point, let's do some likely states. Nebraska's 2nd District, likely Republican. Always is. Iowa, I'd put likely Republican as well. Like I said, Joe Biden doesn't drive those ideological Democratic voters. Mike Pence doesn't drive ideological Republicans. However, Iowa appears to default to Republican. So many of these states will end up defaulting to a certain party. Same thing goes with Ohio. Joe Biden has that working class cred, but so far that doesn't seem to be much to sway Ohio in the polling against Donald Trump, so it's likely he won't be able to hold on to the state against Mike Pence. So, low turnout on both sides benefits the Republicans, arguably. Continuing on with likely states, let's give the Democrats a bit of a breather here in the Great Lakes with Michigan, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania. Great states for the Democrats to be looking and going, actually, Pennsylvania's leans. Sorry, I was thinking about the Joe Biden versus Donald Trump map. So we'll get back to Pennsylvania in a moment, but these two states, strong Democratic states. However, they benefit from having a, for lack of a better term, very abysmal Republican in office. Donald Trump represents the worst of everything about the right wing in the United States of America. So it's very easy for a state like Minnesota, which went against Trump in 2016, to go blue again. However, against Mike Pence, where you might see lower turnout or suburban voters go, well, at least he's not Trump, it could flip Minnesota. However, unlikely. Michigan, on the other hand, Mike Pence has not endeared himself to black voters, and they will not flip for Joe. They will not flip, and working class individuals most likely just wouldn't show up. At least based on the polling we have. They also get to keep Nevada. Nevada's likely. Like I said, low turnout, Nevada becomes more contested, but frankly, not contested enough that I could see Mike Pence taking it in any easy scenario. Democrats get one more likely seat, and that would be New Hampshire. Now, they also have D.C. as a safe seat. New Hampshire, likely Democratic. It's a state that keeps voting red for the governor, so going red at the statewide level, especially when it's perceived as a moderate vote, so a blue Congress and a red president is their type of thinking and where they seem to always default back to. So New Hampshire would be likely. The reason why Pennsylvania leans is for a very simple reason. Pennsylvania has, for the most part, always gone blue statewide. However, they didn't do so for Trump, and that was partially a motivation of that MAGA rural American base, but also lack of inspiring support on the Democratic side. I think if you have lack of inspiring support with the Republicans and lack of inspiring support with the Democrats win most of the time, but not in any way that I consider Pennsylvania a safe seat. As you can see, these have put Joe Biden in an amazing position. He's only 2 electoral votes away from being, at the very least, about 53% of the time winning the presidency. So let's give Mike Pence some breathing room. Texas is going to be likely. Low turnout in Texas means the state's all but going to turn Republican. However, the state has become notably more purple, so I could see scenarios where low turnout actually gives it to the Democrats ever so slightly, but those are rarer scenarios. Same with Georgia. Georgia's a state the Democrats have long sought after. However, in general election polling, Joe Biden's having trouble taking the state against Donald Trump, meaning against Mike Pence it's highly unlikely he'd be able to take it. Continuing on, we have Wisconsin, because there are no more leans seats. Pennsylvania was the only one. The rest are all tilt at this point. Wisconsin, frankly, would be tilt Republican in this scenario. I might be being a little bit harsh to Joe Biden here, but what we've seen is low turnout elections in Wisconsin benefit the Republicans 9 times out of 10. And Joe Biden versus Mike Pence is a low turnout election. I know I keep saying that, but that's my main logic here. So Wisconsin, tilt red. Good chunk of the time, a slight edge to the Republicans, but not 100% of the time to them. Arizona, on the other hand, is tilt Democratic. However, statewide level, it always goes blue. It always goes red. However, at the federal level, it's going more and more blue, especially with a Senate race that could support that. However, like I mentioned, this New Hampshire split ticket, well, we'll vote blue for the president, red for the Congress, or in this case, blue for the Congress, red for the president, could occur in Arizona. Hence why I'm leaving it at tilt. Florida, tilt red. It's very simple. Actually, slight modification. Let's put it as leans red. Joe Biden's not doing amazing down there against Donald Trump, though it is a bit contentious. Low turnout amongst voters Democrats need to drive means Republicans are more than likely to take this, and Florida is one of the few states, besides Iowa and possibly Wisconsin, we'll have to see how this upcoming election pans out, that are getting more red as opposed to more blue. North Carolina, this one, tilt blue. The state has been going more and more blue. Like I've said many, many times, it is what people mistake Virginia for. A state that is going more blue, but is still very elastic. And North Carolina, I think, is still in a low turnout election against Mike Pence, and Joe Biden versus Mike Pence would barely go for Biden. Maine, Maine 2nd District, the last of them, would be tilt blue. Maine 2nd District has been leaning more and more blue. And on second thought, it's actually going to be tilt red. You'll have to forgive me. This one's being done a little bit on the fly. But tilt red. The 2nd District has always been very conservative, and while it's been getting more and more red, it hasn't necessarily gotten to that point where I think in a low turnout election the Democrats would benefit from it. So the final results, assuming we hit the 51% of the time these predictions are correct, Joe Biden with 294 electoral votes, Mike Pence with 240. This is hardly a resounding victory for Joe Biden, and actually arguably a bad one for the Democrats, with Republicans being able to shore up some key states such as Iowa, Ohio, Georgia, and Texas, as well as Florida getting more red, and a trend being set up where the Democrats will lose Wisconsin at the presidential level. As you can see, their gains in the Southwest benefit them and make up for the loss of Wisconsin, but you don't want to be losing states, especially when you're the opposition party. So that's where we're left off. And with that being said, if you like the video, leave a like down below. Also, while you're down there, drop a comment or a question. I'm always glad to hear those. If you want to see more from the channel, please click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you can see more content and be alerted when it comes out. Otherwise, as always, have a wonderful day.